Welcome back to the People of Penn State podcast. I'm Katie Farnan from the Alumni Association, and today I'm joined by Jackie Layer, a 2013 graduate from the College of Earth and Mineral Sciences with a degree in meteorology. Jackie is currently the Chief Meteorologist at DC News Now. Jackie, welcome to the podcast. Jackie, thank you so much for joining us today. Let's start from the very beginning, which was actually the blizzard of 96 for you. Tell us all about how you decided you wanted to become a meteorologist.
I know. Well, Katie, thank you so much for having me on the podcast today. It's a great honor to be talking about how I got into meteorology and also, how I got into Penn State. And with that, yes, we had to go all the way back to the blizzard of 96. We were just living in a suburb of Philadelphia. I was a little young one at the time. And when we, got over 30 inches of snowfall in one day with that blizzard in Philly, I just couldn't believe it. And I thought that happened every year. Lo and behold, I learned it does not happen every year. So that is really when I could say that was, the first time that I realized I really enjoyed weather, and I enjoyed watching the local, Philly TV stations. I feel like I grew up with them, or at least grew up watching them too, and really enjoyed watching those local meteorologists talking about whenever we had active weather in, the Philly area and also into New Jersey too, because eventually we moved to southern New Jersey, and that's really where I grew up as well. And we had, active weather also down the shore too. So, just that was really where, the weather bug really settled in.
So how did you then land on Penn State when the time came to choose a college?
Right. So then eventually through high school, I realized I did really love weather, but also I loved teaching as well. So education was almost, the route that I took. I applied to multiple, schools and colleges for education. Penn State was the only one that I applied to for meteorology, thinking that if I got into Penn State, then I'm going for meteorology. That's going to solidify that, yes, this is, my destiny. That's what I'm going to be doing with the rest of my career. So thankfully, yes, Penn State said yes, and I went to University Park for meteorology, and I'm still doing, broadcast meteorology to this day. But back in, high school, I was able to take an earth science class. And that really also solidified why I got into meteorology too. So I'm very grateful that there was a teacher at my high school in New Jersey that was able to teach that too.
And you were super involved as a student. So tell us a little bit about those experiences and how you balanced the involvement with the class load and all of the work that had to be done.
I know. I did a lot when I was in college, and meteorology is a very, very tough subject. You have all the math, you have all the science courses. I did have to take quite a few courses during the summer as well, just to keep up with that workload too. And yes, I still wanted to make sure that I was still, being involved in all the different clubs that I could possibly be a part of, because Penn State, it's a big university. I wanted to meet as many people as possible. I came from a really big high school and I wanted a big university, so I wanted to take advantage of that. So I was very involved with Thon. I was involved with the College of Earth and Mineral Sciences, their Thon organization, all 4 years. And I eventually got to be able to dance in Thon my senior year, which is one of, the most amazing moments, because I couldn't believe that I was able to stay up, longer than 46 hours. So I still had to take some classes on that Friday and then eventually, get through that entire weekend of Thon. So that was just remarkable to be able to do that and represent the College of Earth and Mineral Sciences too. But then I was also, involved with the College of Earth and Mineral Sciences Student Council, very involved with that. And then Lion Ambassadors, I was a tour guide. Yes, I walked backwards. Maybe anyone tuning in, I may have been your tour guide, either my junior or senior year back in the day. So I hope you enjoyed the tour. I hope you eventually made it to Penn State. So yes, quite a few different organizations I was a part of. Then there was Whether or Not, which is a student, run program that we do where it was just student meteorologists putting together a 30-minute program that would air. So that was, really critical for me to get that involvement too, to kind of get that behind the scenes of how to put a newscast together and also edit it all together too. And also, I was in front of the camera with that too. So, you had all different aspects putting that show together with Whether or Not.
You did it all in college, didn't you, Jackie?
There was a lot. I mean, when I was going back through everything that I did, I don't know when I slept, but I did. I made sure that I got my rest. But I was looking back and like, wow, I did a lot. But I was trying to, like I said, take advantage of all the different opportunities that Penn State had and making sure that, that was one of the reasons why I chose Penn State, because there were just so many different clubs, organizations to get involved with and to meet as many people as possible.
You're here, you got to do it all, right?
Yeah. And fit it in all 4 years.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So you didn't have a job lined up at graduation, but you did have a really fun experience staying back in Happy Valley. So tell us a little bit about that.
Right. So I did not have a job at graduation, and it almost felt like a failure at that point, because I felt like everyone else was able to, have that job lined up. So I really try to take advantage of that downtime, because at Penn State, one of my professors, Marissa Ferger, she was our weather communications professor. She drilled it into our heads that once you get that broadcast meteorology job, that vacation is going to be hard to come by. You're probably going to be, thousands of miles away from home. So if you don't have that job lined up, kind of take advantage of that downtime if you can. And so what I did, I still was able to get a job, but it wasn't, broadcast meteorology related. I was a Segway tour guide at Penn State. It was a company called Happy Valley Tours. So I still had that tour guide aspect of it with, what I did with Lion Ambassadors, and kind of took that and did that for maybe a month or two, because then by July, I was able to land my first broadcast meteorology job. But not only that, before that, I was still able to go on, and thankful for my parents for doing this. It was a graduation present, but it was at the Penn State Alumni Association. I was able to do the Europe grad tour, and I still talk about it to this day. I mean, that was back in 2013, and we traveled to, several different European countries, and some of those pictures that come up in my, Facebook memories every so often, right around, May, early June, I just think back to that time, and it was just incredible to be with, other recent grads in, these European countries and exploring. And I knew that wouldn't be possible once I got into the broadcast field, because it is very tough to take off, a week and a half in order to do that. So I'm very grateful that I had that time to really do that, and also decompress after, 4 years at Penn State.
There are worse things, right? Like you
right,
don't
exactly.
need to have the job right away. You can enjoy a couple months of just, it's the last time you can do it. So you might as well.
Exactly. But don't worry, my parents sat me down after that grad tour to say, okay, now's the time you need to get that job.
We're getting serious now.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So tell us about your first meteorology gig, and then how your career kind of progressed from there.
Right. I mean, so my very first job, got it in that July of that year, was in South Bend, Indiana, which is also home of Notre Dame. So I felt like it was almost home away from home, because I felt like going from Penn State in a college town to then going out to South Bend, which is, kind of a college town too, just a little bit different than Penn State. I mean, Notre Dame is still also a big university as well, that was right there. I still felt like I was still with a lot of people around the same age as me. Because I feel like college is the time where you're, around the same age group. And I felt like going there, it didn't feel like a hard transition. It didn't feel like a big transition. But I did notice a transition in terms of weather, because you have lake effect snow, and that was a little bit different than forecasting in, around central Pennsylvania. So that was a big difference. Also, my very first winter there, so 2013 going into 2014, that was our harshest winter in 35 years. And that was the first time I ever dealt with 40 below wind chills. So I will always remember that. Thankfully, that pain has gone away, but I will always remember just how cold that was and just how much snow they received that year. And that was the 8th harshest winter that they had. So just incredible that year, that was the first, time really away from home and away from the East Coast, and experiencing more Midwest winter. That was quite the eye-opening experience, but I wouldn't trade that for the world. just having that experience and being able to live away from home, and kind of so far away from home too, and getting those, critical career development skills was really remarkable.
You really got thrown right in there with those wind
Yes.
chills. I can't imagine how that felt.
I know. Thankfully, I mean, Penn State, winter did prepare me a little bit for that, but this was on a whole different scale. Yes.
Yeah. So when we're all complaining here, we can always remember it could be way worse.
Could be way worse.
Yeah. So from there, your career kind of progressed into a few different areas, and you saw a lot of different weather events. Tell us about that and some of the craziest weather events that you experienced.
Right. So, there are a few more weather events after, 40 below wind chills there in the Midwest in South Bend. So after 3 years in South Bend, Indiana, because TV, we have contracts and you kind of go where those contracts go. So I was able to then go from South Bend, Indiana to then up to Boston, Massachusetts. So that was quite the career move in TV, going from market at that time was 89 to then, a top 10 market. So that was quite the career development as well, going from, just forecasting for about 10 counties to then forecasting not only for the Boston TV market, but I ended up going to NBC Boston, which was also NECN at the time too. So NECN forecasted for, all of New England. So I was forecasting for a good chunk of the country that I wasn't too familiar with. I mean, I grew up in New Jersey, went to Penn State, so forecasted for Pennsylvania, Jersey, then back up towards the Midwest. So then getting, familiar with New England was quite interesting. And then also trying to pronounce some of those town names too. That was a big learning curve. So not only going from market 89 to the top 10 market, but then also trying to learn all those different town names that do not look the way that they are pronounced. So that also coupled up with learning, the weather patterns there in New England. Yes, it's just a little bit different. And we like to joke that the weather changes there every 5 minutes. So that was always fun to be there. But I mean, Boston was incredible. I tracked nor'easters, we tracked tropical storms, and also hurricanes that were well off the coast. But one tropical storm did make landfall in Rhode Island when I was there. So that was a really cool experience, because then I was sent out to Cape Cod to cover that. So that was really cool.
So after Boston, you made the move to DC. What was that like, and kind of what went into the change from Boston weather to DC weather?
Right. So up in Boston, I worked at 2 different TV stations. It was NBC Boston, and then I switched over to Channel 7 WHDH, and I was both the weekend morning meteorologist in both of those stations. And so when it came the time to decide if I wanted to stay in Boston or, check to see if there's anywhere else, any other, broadcast meteorology openings, there was an opening here in DC for a weekday morning position. And that's kind of the transition that you do in TV news if you can. Just working the weekends, it's tough, especially when you're younger and you're trying to, take off for friends' weddings, friends' birthday, family events. It was always tough to take off those weekends. You only had, a select few weekends to take off during the year. So when I got that, call saying that there was this position open in DC for a weekday morning position, that I just knew that was the time to make that career move. And after spending nearly 6 years in Boston, yes, I could have stayed, but I think this was the move to make in order to get off the weekends and to, solidify my spot in a weekday morning position. But I mean, when we talk about morning shows, it is tough. You're waking up at 2:30 in the morning to make it to a show that likely starts either between 4:30 or 5 o'clock in the morning, depending on the station. So that was also a tough thing to do, but I actually really did enjoy the weekday morning position.
Take us behind the scenes of what that looks like, because you always kind of see, everybody's looking great at 5 a.m. while the rest of us are like, eyes barely open. So what does it look like to prepare for something like that? And then, when it's action and it's live, how you make sure that you're ready to go?
Right. I mean, like I said, you're waking up at 2:30 in the morning. So then you're waking up when everyone's still sleeping. So you have to go to bed pretty early in the evening. But I would always do it. I would nap in the middle of the day and then usually continue my nap or sleep later in the day. So I would do like, say, a 2.5 to 3 hour nap during the middle of the day. And then say about go to bed around 8:30 to then wake up at 2:30 in the morning. But it depended on the evening if there was, events that I needed to go to, or maybe a TV show that I wanted to tune into and not wait until the next day. I would kind of push that sleep a little bit later. I would have to make up for it later into the next few days. But anyway, back to, the day in the life, waking up that early in the morning. Yes, waking up 2:30. I do half of my makeup at home and then finish the other half at work, and then forecasting at work too, putting together the entire, say, graphics. I do that all myself. It was just me in the morning, and then letting all the producers know what's going on weather-wise, and then they would let me know if there was any weather stories in that newscast that I had to be aware of, and then making sure that I knew where I needed to be all throughout the 4-hour morning show. So once you got into that morning show, you are locked in, you're posting on social media and going back and forth from either the weather center over to the green screen or out through the anchor desk. You were just constantly moving. So there was never that downtime during that 4-hour morning show where you're like, oh, like I'm getting tired now. Let me just, kind of sit over here. No, like you are going from start to finish. And then finally, once the show was over, then you were like, okay, now I can sit down and kind of relax a little bit more. Because I mean, if you had that time to relax in the middle of it, I think people would fall asleep. So thankfully that we didn't have that. But then, we had a few more things to do, and then eventually I would be done for the day. But I did like that morning shift just because I felt like I still was able to, have that life after that morning shift when everyone else was awake, that I could, at least enjoy the rest of the day before I had to either nap or then go to bed later.
Well, all of that hard work paid off because you were eventually promoted to Chief Meteorologist. So tell us a little bit about that promotion and how it felt to get that.
Right. It was incredible to be offered that, especially after working the morning shift here for about 3 years by that point. And then being able to become the chief meteorologist here with an opening. It was just, I felt like I made it because that was always the goal. But it was a shift because I went from, the morning show to then now I'm in the evenings. So that adjustment, it took me a good 6 months because I was not used to, waking up a little bit later. But now when I wake up, I feel like I'm already kind of working because I'm already trying to get ready for later in the day and making sure that, by 2:30 in the afternoon. And it's a big shift going from coming or waking up at 2:30 to then, coming in 2:30 in the afternoon for my shift to start and then stay here till 11 p.m. It's so different, such a different lifestyle, but I've finally gotten used to it, thankfully. And now it's almost the same team as what we had before. So going from, their teammates and now more so someone that they look up to and more of their, manager or kind of like supervisor of a team, that has been also a shift as well.
And let's talk about some of the fun weather programming that you've been able to do. So during COVID, you did a little bit of a shift and kind of helped people who were learning from home. So tell us about that, and also tell us about Weather Chat.
Right. So back in 2020, when I was at Channel 7 News, WHDH in Boston, we were trying to figure out how we could help families because we were getting those messages from, local families who were struggling to get their kids to, really get into science from home. Because, I felt like with COVID, everything kind of shut down very quickly and everyone was just trying to figure out what to do. So it was myself and my fellow coworker who was, also the weekend evening meteorologist, and I was the weekend morning meteorologist. We kind of collaborated and we were able to do, science from home lessons, which I thought was a really fun program that we still hear about today, even though like I've left Boston, and my other coworker left Boston as well. And we still hear, praises from that program that people really enjoyed because we would record those science from home lessons and then we would host Facebook Lives the next day. So those lessons would be posted the day before, and the families and their children could tune in, and then if they had any questions, they could ask that in the Facebook Live the next day. And it really got a lot of good feedback. And I wish we continued that beyond, once I felt like the schools were able to catch up with the virtual learning, we kind of pulled back from that. And but I still have those videos posted on my Instagram, and I still get comments to this day about it. Weather Chat is our new programming. It's a 30-minute, almost podcast style, so very similar to this that we do in this studio that we have behind me. And it's another thing, in the newscast, at least here and across the country, our forecasts are very truncated to about 2 minutes and 30 seconds, or up to 3 minutes if it's an active day. So Weather Chat is an extended version. I mean, we can forecast on those, but more so we use it as a tool for an extended version of any science topic that we can think of. Recently, we had a local teacher who is an AMS certified teacher, and it was really interesting to learn how he got into it. He loved science, he loved weather, but he got into teaching, and now he's able to have also an earth science course at his high school that he teaches at. So I think that's really remarkable that he was able to do that. But I mean, we've hosted so many other ones, but we just started this within the last year. So I'm really interested to see what other topics we can, bring on to the podcast as well.
Full circle moment, right?
Yes.
And speaking of full circle moments, we kind of talked about it earlier that you felt like you grew up with the Philly news stations and the broadcasters there. So what is it like to know that you are now part of a team that people consider you part of their family, right? They watch you every morning or every evening, and they wait for you to kind of report the weather. They probably address you by first name at home. I know like my family always, our weather people were first name basis. So what is it like to kind of realize that you're doing that?
It's humbling. I mean, it's an honor as well. It's remarkable. I feel like there's been this big shift though with TV that, not as many people are tuning into local TV like what it was at least 20 and even, 30 years ago now. That I still am so grateful that people tune in every day to my weather forecast, that they tune in and trust me with that forecast, and that way they can plan ahead and schedule out their days and making sure that they are staying safe too. And even going back to the education aspect, like I was talking about before, where I really thought I go the teacher route, that I still am able to almost fill that void where I feel like I'm teaching everyone when they're tuning in about the science behind the weather. And so at least I get that aspect of the job, and then also to be able to be that broadcast meteorologist that, when I was just, 5 years old, tuning into the local, meteorologist at home, that I, looked up to them and felt like hey, I could do that eventually as well.
Young you would be proud of you.
I hope so. I think so.
So you are still able to stay involved with Penn State as an alum and from DC. So tell us a little bit about that.
Right. So I am part of the external advisory board with Penn State University's meteorology program. So I just joined that within the last year, and that has been eye-opening too, because I went to a meeting recently that was back in April. Beautiful spring day. I'm just so glad. It was a really nice day. Even though, yes, I was looking at the forecast, I know. But, Penn State, University Park, sometimes it's a little tough, especially in April, to have a really nice spring day. So thankfully that worked out. But yeah, being a part of that and giving back to the university and, telling them, from my point of view and the career that I've had so far, kind of telling them what, students may need if they're going into the broadcast meteorology field. So just being able to do that has been really incredible too.
And what are some lessons and pieces of Penn State that you're able to take into your everyday life and career?
Oh, let's see. I would say Penn State, it's a big community. We're always looking out for each other. And I've noticed that throughout my career too. And all those experiences that I had at Penn State, it just has followed me throughout this entire career too. So I think that is the biggest lesson, that anyone that you met at Penn State, they can somehow help you in your career, in life, anything that you do. So I think that's the biggest lesson that I learned.
And what advice would you give any current students, maybe in the meteorology department, or new grads that are getting ready to, start their lives?
Be able to adapt. I feel like so much has changed since I've graduated. And I feel like that was, always the case. Even throughout my years at Penn State, something was always changing within technology, within social media, just always being able to adapt. And I know that's hard to, hear, because you just feel like every day something is changing, but that's just always how it's been. And that's just something that we're going to have to, do within, once you get into your career. And then I feel like don't be afraid to, really make that leap. I mean, me going from Penn State to then making that leap out to the Midwest, and then making that leap up to Boston, and then now making that leap and kind of going forward with my career down here to DC. Don't be afraid to make that leap. Because I feel like that's the hardest part, is to, just go for it, because you're afraid to fail. Go for it. If you fail, you learn something.
Great advice. So we like to wrap this up with a quick little lightning round of some Penn State related questions. Are you ready?
Yes, I am so ready for this.
Okay. Your favorite creamery ice cream flavor?
So it's always been alumni swirl, but recently I went back up and I got the, I'm blanking on the name. It was the, the Stickies. Yes, the Stickies flavor. Yes, I recently tried that, and that was amazing, because I remember going to that diner right on, College Ave. I know it's no longer there anymore, but it was nostalgia for me to try that ice cream flavor.
It is a good one. Your favorite spot on campus?
So I was really trying to think on this one, because this was in the questionnaire before doing the podcast, and I feel like I have to go with 6th floor Walker Building. Walker Building is, that's the meteorology building. I spent so much time there, but on the 6th floor, there's a really cool video wall of all these TVs, and you can just sit there for days. I mean, I guess for meteorology students, you can just sit there for days and just look at all the satellite imagery and the radar. So that's what I always enjoyed when I was on 6th floor Walker Building. But also, I spent so much time studying there with fellow classmates. So I feel like that always holds a piece of my heart.
Second home, right?
Yes, exactly.
Your favorite class and or professor when you were a student?
So favorite class, if I have to do something outside of the College of EMS, I'm going to say ballroom dance. I took that as a gen ed. I loved it. It was so much fun, because in my mind, I was like, if I become a broadcast meteorologist and I make it like Ginger Z on ABC, they might ask me to do Dancing with the Stars. That's where my mind went. Right. I have yet to be asked to be on Dancing with the Stars, but
if you're watching.
Exactly. Eventually, if I make it to that status, I have that in my back pocket. Ballroom dance. But also for meteorology, weather communications, we had 2 semesters of that. Really enjoyed that class, and that professor was Marissa Ferger, and I feel like she really broke it down. This is what you're going to have to deal with in broadcast meteorology, because she did start out in Traverse City, Michigan, and she said, this is what you're going to deal with in broadcast meteorology. Hope you're ready for it. And I feel like I learned so much from her at Penn State.
Prepared you for the real world.
Yes.
Your favorite local restaurant when you're back in State College? Could be one that was here when you were a student and maybe gone now, or one that's currently here, or both.
Right. I'm going to go with one that was not there when I was there, but I always have to go when I come back. And that's Champs downtown. When I was there, it was a Chili's. So a little bit different vibe, nowadays. But I after I graduated and heard that, everyone was going to Champs after I wasn't there anymore, I was like, this place is amazing. And then hearing that the Jonas Brothers were there at one point, man, if only I was still there.
It's the place to be.
Yes, I was having FOMO, seeing all the social media.
And finally, your most treasured piece of Penn State merch?
Right, I really had to think about this last night, because this was really tripping me up, because I feel like I do have so much merch. you just collect it over the years. And speaking of all that merch, I had collected, or accumulated, I should say, so many t-shirts when I was at Penn State. So thankfully, my mom, she can sew, and she surprised me one year with a whole blanket of all of my t-shirts all together. So I still have that, to this day. I'm not getting rid of that. And I really try to make sure I don't get dirty. I try to keep it clean, wash it, as much as I can. But I mean, if you dry it, these things shrink. So I'm trying to make sure that it, stays as well as possible. But that is my most, treasured piece of Penn State merch, because that's just nostalgia in and of itself. With all the different right? T-shirts. There's Thon on there, Lion Ambassador. You have my whole, Penn State career on that blanket itself.
Funny enough, that is actually the same answer we got in the last episode. So apparently this is right now.
I love this. Yeah, it is. I have so many more that I could make another blanket too. So my mom said she might do that within the next couple of years.
And you can't get rid of them. You have to keep them because
exactly.
Yes.
I know.
And they're doing better on a blanket than in a drawer. So
exactly. I agree.
Well, Jackie, thank you so much for joining us today. This was such a great conversation, and we are excited to see what you're going to keep doing there in DC.
I know. Thank you so much, Katie. It was so much fun talking with you today. Thanks again for having me.
Thank you to Jackie for joining us today, and to all of our listeners, don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe so you never miss an episode. Special thanks to our behind-the-scenes team, Abrielle Clark and Gabrielle Harris, for their work on this episode. To read more inspiring Penn State stories, check out the Penn Stater magazine, and to learn more about the Alumni Association, visit alumni.psu.edu. We are.